here and there, and still some of that wildfire smoke from Canada that has made it all the way down here to the south there in the upper levels. And we think we're going to see some changes coming in tomorrow. Number one, increasing our cloud cover, increasing our rain chances, and also a change in our wind direction may help to get some of that smoke out of here. With a lot that's going on here, we've got a couple of areas we're watching, one off the coast of Georgia and Florida that's developing. We have another big storm system out in the Midwest, and we have to watch a lot of that. And we're kind of in between where we're enjoying some nicer weather here right now. Here is a look at what we're watching with that coastal low that is going to be developing. Right now, we've got some rain in Florida. It's trying to push up closer to the Georgia coastline, and we will eventually see an area of low pressure developing there. Whether or not it becomes a tropical system, that matters, but it really doesn't, because the chances are really low for it to actually become an official tropical or subtropical system. But it's still going to be an area of low pressure off the Georgia coast, and that is going to start to push some Atlantic moisture into our area. And beginning tomorrow, we're going to see some scattered showers redeveloping, and those chances are a little bit better once we get into the afternoon hours. We're also going to see a little bit more of a southeasterly breeze during the day tomorrow. Again, not crazy wind or anything, but just the winds coming out more out of the southeast and just a little bit breezy at times. Take a look at the satellite and radar imagery. We don't have anything going on here. No rain around at all. We were watching a few clouds. You see some of those that were developing late this afternoon, just kind of mixing in with the sunshine at times. A lot of those are falling apart now. But if you can kind of see that a little bit better here, that flow that's coming out of the southeast and moving toward the north and west, that is the beginning of that change in our wind direction that we're going to see here. And much of that is because of this. This is what we're watching with the rain in Florida. And it's kind of, you see how it's kind of moving this direction, bringing in some of these showers from the coast there into northern Florida. Some of those are going to be pushing up along the Georgia coast very soon as well. That is the system that we have to keep an eye on. And once it gets up closer to the Georgia coast, it will become more of an area of low pressure. And that flow is still going to keep pushing some of that moisture up into our area. The other thing we have to watch is this system in the Midwest. And it is an active night in the Midwest right now. Look at all those storms that are firing up here from Dallas through Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, into parts of Illinois, up toward the Chicago area, in southern parts of Wisconsin, where we have numerous severe thunderstorm watches, severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado watches. We've even been seeing some tornado warnings within this as well. Right now, most of these are tornado watches, and the severe thunderstorm watches, just a few of those severe thunderstorm warnings, but it's a very active night there. This system is trying to push to the east, but that is going to take a long time before it actually gets really anywhere close to us or into more of our area here of the southeast. So two main weather features we're watching: the severe weather to the west, and then also this developing area of low pressure that is down along the coast of Florida. Take a live look out there right now. This is a beautiful view of our sun. It's already down. It went down just a little while ago, but you know, the wildfire smoke in the upper levels has been adding a lot of color to the sunrises and sunsets, and even the sun itself has been appearing very red when it gets closer to the horizon. That's because it's filtering through a lot of that particulate matter in those upper levels. As it gets closer to the horizon, it has the opportunity to kind of filter through even more of those particles, whether it's the smoke particles in the air, and giving us some nice color. And this is the view right now, even after sunset, of some of that orange there in the sky, looking to the west here from our tower cam there at Arizona Avenue. All right, so let's talk about, I mentioned the two things: storms in the Midwest and that system that's going to be developing off the Florida and Georgia coast. Let's look first at that system to the Midwest that's causing the severe weather that you're seeing tonight. And really, where you see the yellow color here, that's the level 2 of 5 risk. That pretty much lines up with what I was just showing you with near Dallas, stretching up through Oklahoma, parts of Arkansas, Missouri, and up into Illinois, up to around the Great Lakes region, where we're seeing those severe storms. So the question is, what happens with this tomorrow? Well, look, as we progress here into your Wednesday, a lot of that yellow goes away, and we just have the level 1 risk still up to the north here and also out to the west. So it's really going to start to weaken some tomorrow and pretty much fall apart in some spots. And then going into Thursday, another area of severe weather is going to develop in northern Texas through Oklahoma, southern Kansas as well, and that's where we have that yellow color, which is a level 2 risk. So that still is going to take a while. This is for Thursday. That looks like it is going to start pushing toward the south, and as it does, once we get into Friday and Saturday and Sunday, we'll be watching that to see if that severe weather risk is going to stay to the west or if it will actually make it into our area. We do think we're going to have some showers for the weekend, the potential for some storms, just not quite confident yet about the severity of what we could see going into the weekend. So we'll keep a close eye on that for you. Now, here's the other thing we're watching is that potential area of low pressure developing off the Georgia coast. Now, here is what we're watching right now, where you see that X. That's kind of the center of what we will be watching for where an area of low pressure could develop. It's going to move up the Florida coast here. And then once it gets off the Georgia coast, this is where we think it has a little better chance of developing. But right now, the Hurricane Center only giving us a 10% chance, either over the next 2 days or the next 7 days. We think it may kind of hang out off the coast, could move inland. So really the chances are on the low end that either a tropical or subtropical system could develop there. But we do have to watch it. And whether or not it is an official system, a depression or a subtropical storm or tropical storm, we don't think it would get to that. But whether or not it does, will determine how much moisture we'll get. Even if it's an area of low pressure, we still have to watch this because as you can see here, look at that flow. You see how it's trying to push up some of those clouds, more of those clouds up into our area, and we do think that that's going to be more of the case during the day tomorrow. So here's a look at the planner during the day tomorrow, and you'll see here a dry start. But once we get into the mid-morning hours, we're going to begin to see a few more clouds move in and a little more moisture. Now, we don't think it's going to rain all day, but some scattered showers are going to start developing here, especially once we get into those afternoon hours when we see a few more of those showers developing. And there may be some thunder and lightning with it. We don't expect anything really severe out of this. This is just going to be a southeasterly flow, picking up Atlantic moisture, sending some of those scattered showers into our direction. So here is a look at the forecast track. You can already see the arrows here coming out of the east and a few of those clouds that we've been watching move into our area. So the morning hours really are going to be pretty nice here, where we see mainly sunshine mixing in with just a few of those clouds. But you see there we go with that flow coming in off of the east, starts picking up a little more moisture. This is at noon where we're going to have a few more clouds building in, but just to the east of us, scattered showers are going to start developing. That pushes in, and as more of that moisture moves our way, that's when we see the little better chance for some of those scattered showers to be developing here, mainly for the afternoon and early evening hours. You see how they're going to be scattered around, pockets of moderate to heavy rain possible. In the evening, a lot of that falls apart, and then going into Thursday, notice a little bit of a shift in the wind coming more from the north and east, more on the back side of that system that's going to be moving up the coastline. So we'll be on the quieter side of that. It still may wrap around a little bit of moisture here. We're going to go with just a 20% chance for an isolated shower on Thursday. And I know this model's trying to show a little bit of green there, but really we don't think we'll see a lot of rain on Thursday. Again, just a really low chance there. And then also going into Friday, most of us staying dry. We're just going to hold on to a 20% chance for a shower here for the end of the week too. But since we're on the back side of that area of low pressure, we're going to see some sinking air back behind it, and our temperatures may rise even more. We're thinking on Friday, we may see temperatures getting up to around 89 degrees, close to 90 for your Friday afternoon. But again, still not seeing really much in the form of rain, just that 20% chance for a shower here on your Friday, and it looks like most of that should be down on the south side. But we'll let you know if we see any changes with that. So, with all that said, you know we've been dealing with all of the smoke in the upper levels from those wildfires in Canada. And I know it's still amazing to think that that smoke can travel that far, but it can. It gets caught up in the upper level winds, the jet stream, and it sends that smoke into our area, giving our sky at times that milky look, kind of grayish or hazy look that we have. So these colors here, where you see the yellows and greens, that's indicating where we see the smoke still in our area. So A lot going on in the atmosphere, remember. And we talked about that wind is going to be shifting, coming more out of the south and east. So look what happens during the day tomorrow. We've been dealing with the smoke moving our way, all right? Now, you see in the morning how we get into the more green colors here. That's going to be less smoke around. And did you see kind of the influence of how the improvement was going to be taking place? Notice down to the south, it's blue, all right? That flow coming in off of the Atlantic is going to start pushing some of this moisture away. Watch what happens here going through the afternoon. You see that with that flow? It's going to help start to push the moisture our way, as well as mixing up the atmosphere, changing the wind direction, and dispersing some of that smoke. So we don't think we'll see as much of it here during the day tomorrow, but we'll have more clouds building in and some of those scattered showers. And that's just kind of mix things out a little bit to clean out our air somewhat. So we think the smoke forecast is going to be improving. Now, take a look at the moisture. Where you see the blue colors, that's blues and purples, that's where it's pretty dry air. The yellows and oranges show more of that moisture, and of course that's out to the west too, where they're having those storms. So, all right, as we're watching that area of low pressure move up onto the Atlantic, that easterly flow sends some of that moisture our way, and we'll start to see some of that here during the day tomorrow, as well as into Thursday. But notice how as it pulls away, we're on the back side of the system. Drier air comes in around that, and you see the colors turning blue again with that drier air coming back in. And then we will see additional moisture coming in thanks to those storms out to the west. And going into Saturday and Sunday, we're going to see our rain chances that are going to be going up, and also the humidity levels that will be going up too here. Finally, we hope to dry out a little bit more going into next week, but again, we'll have to keep an eye on that before this entire system moves through, and hopefully we'll see more drying later into the week next week. But as of right now, our 7-day forecast shows a lot of rain chances in here. So it goes from 40% Wednesday to lower rain chances Thursday and Friday on the backside of that tropical or that little coastal low as it moves away, drier air. Then a 40% chance for showers on Saturday, 60% chance here on your Sunday. So take a look at the dew points. This is how much moisture is in the air there. When you have dew points in the 60s, it's pretty humid. We're going to see these dew points pretty much staying there on the higher end. And how much rain can we see? Models right now over the next 7 days are pretty consistent, showing in Atlanta maybe 1.6 inches of rain over the next 7 days. European models showing close to 2 inches. There's some differences up in North Georgia between the European and the American. So again, we are expecting some rain. It just depends on how much we get, determining how much of that moisture moves in from the Atlantic, and then also how much of an impact we have from that system out to the west. So we'll be fine-tuning that. But look at these temperatures. 82 Wednesday, warming to 85 on Thursday, 89 Friday, and then Saturday 87 to 84 on Sunday as we see those rain chances coming up. So here's a look at the entire system that we're watching. All right, there's that moisture going up the coast, that flow spreading in some of that moisture here with scattered showers Wednesday. Thursday, I know this is showing green here, but we really think the rain chances will be on the low end both Thursday and Friday at 20%. And then in the Saturday, that's when we watch some of that moisture feeding in from the west, thanks to those storms out west. Now again, we don't know yet if they're going to be severe. It's something we're going to be watching. And then going into next week, still some of those scattered showers are going to stick with us. So we need a good front to come in, which we think might happen after Tuesday, to come in and kind of clean out our air a little bit more to give us nicer weather going into next week. So there's a lot going on here weather-wise over the next few days. So we, of course, will keep you posted on that. And also, that's why we love doing these extended weather outlooks here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. So we can just kind of like take our time telling you about all the scenarios of everything moving on in. So here's a look at that 7-day outlook where we are going to see those temperatures at 82 on Wednesday, a 40% chance for some showers, mainly in the afternoon hours and into early evening before it kind of tapers off. Then slightly drier air coming in Thursday and Friday, 20% chance for some an isolated shower, partly cloudy, high of 85 Thursday, 89 on Friday, 87 on Saturday, but look at the rain chances coming back up to 40%. And then as we go into Sunday, that looks like the weekend day with the highest rain chances at 60%, and then back to a 30 to 40% chance for showers on Monday and Tuesday. Once we get past this really warm air on Friday at 89, we go to 87 Saturday, then mid-80s for Sunday, Monday, as well as on Tuesday. Thanks for watching us for this extended weather update here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7. We hope that you will stick with us anytime. come to 11 Alive, Weather Plus, and also Weather Impact 24/7 for a lot of weather content throughout the day. You can just leave it on streaming all day to take a look at radar and also keep tabs on temperatures and conditions in your area. Thanks for watching.